to episode 403 of In Touch with iOS, the podcast that keeps you connected to the ever-changing Apple ecosystem. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. Each week, we break down the latest news, updates, tips, and hidden features across iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Mac, Vision Pro, and Apple TV, along with insights from friends, experts, and the Apple community, because here we read the release notes so you don't have to. So we do have a special episode this week, and I would thought to do something different. So you might be getting a couple episodes in the same week. You never know. You'll see. But I am thrilled with the fact that Katie Fawkes is back on the show, her second appearance, and this is going to be fun. How you doing, Katie?
I'm great. How are you all?
I am doing great. I was really looking forward to doing this with you because we're going to be getting into some video. Just a minute here. And also here as my co-host this week on this show, this episode is Jeff Gamet. And just me coming off of seeing you for the last 4 days this past weekend. And how you doing?
I'm doing great. And, I actually feel spoiled because I got to spend so much time with you over the past few days.
Yeah.
And I'm missing you already.
Let's see. We had the whole week. Oh, thank you. We had the whole weekend plus Monday, and then Tuesday we're on Mac Voices Live, and now we're recording this on Wednesday. So I got 5 days of Jeff Gamet.
And then in regular In Touch with iOS tomorrow.
Yeah, we do.
So we spend so much time together. People are going to talk, and I say let them.
A whole week. So what the show is going to be about today is we're going to talk a lot about movies and streaming and that theme, because Katie has an amazing podcast called the VHS Club. And I want to find out more about what got you started to wanting to do something like the VHS Club. You got how many episodes do you have too? You got a lot of episodes already.
Oh gosh, if I had notes in front of me, I think we're on episode 115, which is still surreal to me.
Actually, it's 116 because I'm looking.
Oh, there you go. There you go. See, I told you
awesome.
I told you I didn't have anything in front of me. Yeah, 116. It's wild, absolutely wild to me.
Yeah. So what's the kind of the premise of what you guys do? You actually have these VHS tapes in your possession?
I don't. I wish I was that cool. The premise of the show, my childhood best friend and I, we have known each other since I believe second or third grade. We used to live next door to each other growing up, and then we lived together in a multitude of apartments when we were in college and beyond. And so we spent the mass majority of our time renting movies, watching movies together, and it was really like our love language. And so when I ended up moving to the States and she's still in Canada, we started years back. First, because, and I will just admit this right from my vulnerability right out in front of everyone, I am the person who hates being on the phone. The idea of video is like, to me. And so even with my best friend, my closest friend who I spent all the time with, I forced this poor woman to like have text conversations with me on Thursday nights while we were watching movies, because she was like, well, we could just do a call. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to live text at you while I'm watching this and respond back to your. And then eventually she sort of warmed me up to the idea of we could have it as a call. And then when we got into kind of the early COVID era, it became a video chat between the two of us. And then as I started getting more and more into this sort of live streaming and podcasting space through work, I thought, you know what, there's something magical and really fun about the idea of getting together with your friends for a movie night. And there's just something so like visceral to me about these childhood movies that I just like want to talk about. And so we brainstormed the idea of what if we just did this show that was entirely us choosing movies from predominantly the 80s and 90s, although we have definitely spanned a little larger on either side of that.
Yeah.
And brought on guests and just chatted all about our favorite movies, and we take recommendations and we rewatch things. But yeah, I wish, so I worked at Blockbuster for years. Like that was my job all the way through. So I have a lot of DVDs, but I don't actually have a lot of VHS. But it just felt more, I don't know, the DVD club, not quite the same for me. We're in that like 80s range. So VHS club it is.
Yeah, I am looking over at a closet right next to me here, and Jeff knows this closet over here. And I'm seeing that I put my VHS player. No, actually, it's a VHS, the original. It was a Mitsubishi, actually. When I think about it.
Oh, nice.
It's still there, and I haven't plugged it in years. But
you should plug it in.
I'm going to. I guess I still have my VHS tapes downstairs, and the collection, and I want to start. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and get some real nostalgia. I mean, let's say I go back. I'm a little old time here. I remember recording all these shows, and I think when Johnny Carson left the Tonight Show in 1992, I have that last episode recorded on VHS. So I should go back and watch that because it's the full one. Who knows how the tape is? I haven't even looked at it. Might have deteriorated by that point. So that's a long time ago, like 30 years. And so that tape has been in existence. So, that's what I kind of want to talk a little bit about, just the nostalgia of VHS, and I'm just remembering. I go back in the really old days. I mean, my father had, when he bought a video player, it was Sony Betamax.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
and then there was the Betamax VHS wars. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
Wars, yeah, remember the wars? Yeah. So it was. I mean, that machine was an absolute beast. I mean, it was just this huge machine. And of course, me being the tinkerer I was, and Dad wasn't too happy when I decided to open it up and wanted to fix it. And there was a problem with it because, the tapes, you remember how the tapes move. I mean, the big mechanical thing that goes around the drum and it has to start spinning. And the tapes get jammed and it just wouldn't work. And there was the big wars, but I always was brainwashed into the thinking, oh yeah, Beta's the best. It's always
Beta was a better technology.
Yes,
it was the better technology. It lost out. It was predominantly due to the adult movie industry, really, and marketing, really. So it was not the weaker choice. It was the better choice. But here we are.
Yeah. So it was. So I remember that, and then always recording videos, recording shows, and I mean, you think about it now, why would I do that anymore? Because we got streaming. We'll get to that in a bit here, but I just wanted, that's what I wanted to do with this episode, just to go down the kind of that road of where we've gone with VHS and to where we are today. But yeah, I remember I must have had, I think I had two VCRs that I kept remember, that's the acronym you have to use, VCR. I'm calling it video player. VCR.
No, it's
video cassette recorder.
Yeah. VCR, yeah. I have my family Zenith that still works. Totally great.
Oh, I forgot about. Yep.
That was it's probably been fixed 3 or 4 times, but it's a champ. It works like a charm. I will say, Dave, hang on to that because it's been a very interesting. We are in a very interesting time, or at least in my opinion, anyway, because we really have gone full circle. Like when it comes to sort of generations and nostalgia, we are now seeing a really big resurgence of people who are canceling streaming services and are entirely going back to watching tangible owned physical media, whether it's VHS or DVD or Blu-rays, because they want to get out of the binge culture. They want to intentionally choose something. They want to feel like they own it. They don't want to feel like, Amazon or whatever service they've rented or bought, purchased it from isn't going to take it away from them, and they want that nostalgia that we were talking about. So it's been kind of fun to sort of be accidentally in this space where it's kind of like my whole life centers around all of this new media technology, but then my passions are all in this kind of nostalgic space, but they really are sort of slamming into each other in a very interesting way. And I am definitely seeing a lot of people who are intentionally living in both worlds, but living in those spaces in a very particular way. So it has been interesting, but those are now worth more and more. I'm trying to buy a CRT TV that has the built-in VCR because I was like, wow. That would be so fun. Oh God, and they're so expensive right now. They're $400, used on Facebook Marketplace.
That's
so
crazy.
Don't get rid of it, even if you want to, or at least if you do, it's like iPods, right? People are wanting to clutch it. Same thing. Yeah.
I have the first gen iPod still, with the FireWire connector. So I'm a nostalgia kind of guy. I have cassette tapes. I still have the cassettes up my cassette player. I actually bought the Ion one so I could hook it up to the computer to be able to record off the tapes. And of course, I got the turntable. So I'm old school. As you don't know me, but when I was in high school, I worked in the AV. I was in the AV club, so I was the guy who pushed around the 16 millimeter projectors in the hallways to bring them to when we brought it to the classroom, so we had to watch a movie. Remember those days?
Oh yeah.
And the big Wallensack cassette tape players that they had. Those you had to wheel into the room so you could play a lesson on a cassette tape. And my old reel-to-reel player, I had one of those too, and had my TIAC. That was the one I had, and you just loved playing with that. But then being in the AV club, you also got to work with the girls because they have their dance group that you need help editing all the songs. So I had to do this on in a recording room with big reel-to-reel deck, and I'm doing the splicing, and I'm splicing each song into each with the leader between each one, and having all that music. And it was it was a really cool thing. So I'm all in with that. So we got a couple people in the chat room here at the youtube.com/intouchwithios, and Cletus is saying, hey, and he says, is this Thursday? No, Cletus, we decided to do we decided to do a really special episode, and we're talking about VHS and video and where it goes here. So that's what we're doing today. So I not only am I all in with the video and what your guys are doing, this is I think some fun things, but I think back to where the VHS tape was and the way it is not and the way it is now. We're seeing everything digitally now, so we see you want to look at the movie trailer poster, and you want to see the back in those days you had the taped strip on the edge of the video, so it had the name of the movie, and then you pulled it up, then had the top label on the tape, and then sometimes you would have some liner notes inside the box, but not too many times. Usually they would just be satisfied with just what was printed on the box, right? So as we evolved with VHS, I mean, it just continued, to just flourish. The Panasonic obviously was the biggest name because they were the one who created the technology. You look at Panasonic today; they're completely out of the consumer market for the most part. But back in those days, they were the biggest name. You had Sony and Panasonic, the two big guys who created this whole mess called VHS and Beta. Jeff, what are some of your thoughts? What are some of your memories and thoughts? What you don't have a VHS player, do you?
I do not. I got rid of my VHS player years ago, because I wasn't using it at all, and the movies that I wanted to keep, I had repurchased as DVD.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page. Yep.
Yep. So there was a point where having a VCR was just kind of a waste for me because I was using it for nothing. It was simply taking up space. It sat on a shelf for years, and so then I finally got rid of it. But the whole thing with the VCR and VHS back in the day, it cost a lot of money to buy a movie. So we all went to Blockbuster, and that was like a ritual in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because it was like, okay, we're coming up on the weekend and friends are coming over, so we got to go and pick out some movies, and hopefully you get some of the new releases, but everyone's already picked up all of those. So now you're going through everything else, and it's like, well, I guess we could watch RoboCop again because they still have 2 copies of that, or whatever. But part of the fun of the home movie watching experience was the trek to the video store and getting the videotape. And when I compare that to today, you can still have some of that experience. Like, get a bunch of friends together. What are we going to watch? Okay, what service is it on? Are we going to just rent the digital thing? And then you stream it. But then invariably, there's the side problem that goes along with that, which is you go to stream a movie, and why is the app suddenly not working? Or why is the movie just not loading, and whatever, and now you're like unplugging and replugging and sorting stuff out, and then okay, now we can finally watch. What are we watching again? But anyhow,
Or
was just... Huh?
Or the spoiled for choice. I am
Yes.
entirely guilty of, okay, let's sit down and watch a movie. It's 8:00 and we, it's a weeknight. We should get to bed earlier. So we should start something now. What do you want to watch? And it's like, okay, let's go through the different services that we have available. What are they showing? So much. And then it's like, okay, well, do you want to watch a comedy or an action film, and then it doesn't sort it that way, and then you're like, what did one of our friends suggest to us? And we're pulling up our phones and going into the notes app to be like, what were the movies that people recommended? Whereas at least within the video store, it was a contained experience where you were like, well, these are the 4 new releases and this is everything else. It was curated for you in a way that felt obvious and easy, and you were inevitably going to end up with something. It may not be your first choice, but you would have a choice. Now I feel like it's an overloaded experience, and there are many times where I end up just being exhausted, turn it off, and go and listen to a podcast or chat with a friend or read a book or do something different, even though I love movies, because it's just too much. Or I go back to the ones that I've seen so many times because I know where they are. I know that's the feeling I want to have, and I just there's just so much out there that it feels big. It feels big and stressful to go through that process.
But like you're saying, the ritual, that was the ritual back in those days. And watching movies, everybody would sit around in the den or wherever you're watching a movie, and you put the tape in and push play, and then you would hear it wasn't quiet, because when you were watching a movie and it was quiet, you heard that machine go. It isn't like it is in the streaming world again. So it was quite the way of we did things. So As far as collecting culture and rediscovering forgotten films, there's a lot of films out there that probably aren't in print anymore. I mean, a lot of films ended up back onto DVD. I haven't even touched on that yet. This episode might go a little long here if I keep going here. There's so much. But that's the thing. There's so many VHS tapes out there. I mean, I remember and we're going to an estate sale, and I grabbed a bunch of these movies, and there were some really bad ones. And when I went through them all, I ended up donating. I was like, where am I going to put this? I'm not the type to be the pack rat and the hoarder, I guess would be say. So, but I guess I got to go back downstairs and take a look at what I still have. I know a lot. I got a lot of pre-records and a lot of things I recorded. So, do you think younger generations are actually who never even experienced VHS are finding them now, and do they care?
I think they are, and I think they do. I think it's a nostalgic experience, right? In the same way that the same clothing styles circle back around again, where all of a sudden everyone wants to wear bell bottoms again, and everyone's we're right now we're back in the early 90s, late 80s for fashion, for music, for just for all different kinds of culture. So I do think we are seeing more people playing around with it. And I will say, as a parent, parents who grew up in those generations are also feeling very nostalgic, and I think are reintroducing it to their own kids. I know even with my kids, there's something they find it more fun in some ways to be okay, what ridiculous movie are mom and dad going to make us watch? And then it's a game of, we have a game now where we're does this actually hold up? You as an 11 and 14-year-old are watching it and are going what the actual heck are we watching? Is that still a fun movie for you? And some of them surprise us in different ways, and and sometimes they are just horrible, but some just hold your attention, and it's just an interesting time because you have so much content coming at the younger generations all the time through YouTube and TikTok, and it's so it's quick hits, but it's very they get stuck in a loop, right? So I do think that there is still something about, my kids at least seem to really enjoy the idea of, we're going to unplug for a bit and we're going to watch a movie together, and still are let's get fun snacks, let's get fun drinks, let's make the space really cozy. And I love that. I hope that they they remember those memories fondly and hold on to it, because it does kind of reset your mind, I think, a little bit, and make it into more than just the content itself and the actual experience of who you're spending the time with and all of the pieces and elements around it.
Yeah, and it's just changed. It really has. So, I didn't even mention having the Be Kind Rewind. I'm sure you saw those were your signs that you saw in Blockbuster all the time, and having those rewind machines. I mean, I used to work at Service Merchandise. Remember that store?
Oh my God, Service Merchandise.
Yeah, that was the place I worked when I was in the 90s, awesome. and I worked electronics department, of course. No, but that makes the total sense. So I sold a lot of VCRs.
Yeah.
With VHS tapes versus binge watching on Apple TV, boy, video has really changed. It really has.
Yeah.
But has it really? Are people's, like you said, you mentioned before, people wanting to go to physical media and still use that, and there's still people who are pretty much stuck. And I mean, I'm pretty stuck on streaming at this point. I pay enough for it every month, but
I don't think it's a replacement. I'm interested to hear what you think. I feel like they're different intentional moments of time. Like, look, I live probably 50% of my life in the past, but the other 50%, I'm paying all of the different streaming services and overthinking how much I'm paying all the different streaming services. And I sit there, and when a new season of whatever show I'm into hits, I am with everyone else and binge watching it all the way through. But there is something about like an experience that stops that. Like, I am very intentional with like, oh, okay, as a family, like we are spending time in a different way, or we are doing these things. So I think it's a little bit of both. And at least for me, it's almost like a mental reset for me. I'm spending so much time in front of my computer, in front of my phone, on the iPad, and all of these very screen-filled worlds that, even though it's still a screen, don't get me wrong, I still have my TV in front of me. It does feel like a little bit of a mental reset to kind of unplug and access some of that.
Dave, I have some thoughts on the binge thing.
Yeah, please.
We binged back then and we binge now. The way we binge has changed. And okay, so today, someone tells you about Pluribus as an example, which season 1 just wrapped up, and you're like, oh, I didn't know about that. So you sit down and you binge a whole season of a show. Next.
Yep.
The way we binged back then was my friends are coming over and we're going to watch all 3 Star Wars movies.
Mm-hmm. So it's a movie day. Yeah,
it was a movie day, but it was still a binge, and so it's still a thing. It's just how you go into the binge, and I think binging back when we all had a VCR was more of a group thing, whereas binging today, I think for many people, is a individual thing.
That's an interesting point. Yeah,
that is an interesting point. But I want to spin it here to where Apple's evolution has become in here with this. Did they make some? Did they really influence the change now with Apple TV now? Not necessarily the Apple TV device, but the Apple TV, the service.
Yeah.
Did they make the change because of all the original content? Because you think back to where, I mean, like TV shows. I want to spin that back a little bit here. And back in those days, when you only had a VHS player, you want to watch a TV show, you had to set that timer to make sure it recorded that show. And you get mad when it doesn't go off right, okay? Because sometimes I didn't set that timer right, because you had to actually go to the machine and set that timer to get it to record it. But then they come up with these convenient little devices. It just came into my mind. Do you remember that little device? It was about this big. It was called VCR Plus. Do you remember that?
I forgot about that. I was thinking about TiVo, but VCR Plus.
TiVo,
I'm going old school here. There was another way of being able to. It would kind of be connected to it, or it would do infrared. It would send the signal from this little device. Yeah, we'll have to Google that. I'll put it in the show notes. I have to Google that just to show people what that was. I don't know why I remember that, but because I'm crazy. But let's just think about the way we had to absorb TV shows. I mean, we can binge watch them now because that's the way it is now with streaming. But back then, you had to hope the rerun would play sometime later, which course, that's the big thing now with all the old shows with MeTV and Antenna TV and all these other streaming networks that are streaming all these old TV shows. Once in a while, I get in the mood watching some of that too. So not only is it movies, it's TV shows too. People are going back and watching. Of course, I think of an example, the Brady Bunch. People wants to watch all those old Brady Bunch episodes. Yeah, you can get the DVDs now, and everybody buys the physical media. But sometimes it was fun to go and watch a lot of these shows. So
yeah.
But that's why I say what Apple really has had I think a pretty big influence on this. With the advent of the iPhone and the iPad and the Mac and now and then the Apple TV, which, gosh, come on, Apple, we need a new Apple TV. Just do it. We're waiting too long here. I really think they've done a big revolution on that, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I think Apple's made it more approachable. But I think it was Netflix that actually made the big change, and then Apple refined that, because Netflix is the one that started doing the original content where they would dump an entire series on you at once.
Right.
And they made binging a thing that suddenly became so much easier and so much more accessible.
Yeah.
And what Apple has done is they've worked to give us better interfaces, and now that they're a content producer, in many cases, better content as well. So yes, Apple has played a huge role in this, but I think it was Netflix that was the catalyst.
Well, you gotta remember, Netflix was the first to rent those DVDs. I mean, I got sucked into that, and I would get my 3 DVDs a week, and they would mail them to me, and I may have copied a few, it was that was their phenomenon, and then. I mean, it only. I think it was only maybe 2 years ago the most that they finally phased that out, because people were still wanting to get their DVDs, and then you had companies like Redbox who were doing that. That was a great idea with the kiosk, but it was a bad business, and then they went belly up. So you're not seeing those as much anymore. Even you go into a Best Buy or a lot of these other stores, they're not selling as many DVDs as they used to in the past. Don't even dedicate a lot of space.
Best Buy actually phased out DVD sales completely now?
Yeah. They phased out completely. Yeah, so it's tougher to find to find them. I had a big DVD collection too.
It's all vintage, right? It's all this is all now going to be in the vintage spaces and in secondhand sales and in
libraries.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think that there's a time and a place for all the different things. Even in the binging culture, it has been interesting that we now have also seen a shift from, I believe, all of the streaming services where some shows drop in one season and you can binge all the way through, but there are some where they still do follow that weekly structure, a posting cadence to try to pull in kind of that audience of who wants the excitement of waiting for the next week and to have the water cooler talk with all of their friends, figuring out what's going to happen, right? So there's still playing with all the kind of different formats, and they're really still figuring out what works best. And it's just this hodgepodge of all of, what we saw with cable TV, and the streaming services are not that different, right, from what we had with cable, and then you have and you have movies in between, and even how we approach movies is very different. How it the move from theater to rental to purchase was a very different process than now, where you have some theater releases, but then some releases that are right to those streaming services, and so it's kind of a space where, at the moment, all formats are still on the table to some extent, as they sort of figure out what works and what doesn't, to be able to keep audiences tapped in and paying.
Yeah, well, and then go back to now. Let me talk a little bit about movies and the way we consumed them. Again, obviously, Blockbuster was the biggest thing in the world at the time, back those days. Movie rentals and purchases. When iTunes first started out, that's all you really could do. You really didn't think you can rent a movie. You had to buy it, actually.
Yeah, you had to buy it.
And then they started realizing, maybe we can make a little more money here than renting them, and they do that to this day. So you see that, and then the hardware that we're using today, and you have a little tiny little Roku box, or you can have the Apple TV, which we all love, or you can have the Amazon Fire Stick, and then the smart TVs. So that's where we're all in the place at this point, the way we consume all of this versus that trusty VHS, VCR that we had back in the past. So quite an evolution, I think. Anybody? What do you guys? You have some thoughts on that, Jeff?
It's where do I want to go with that? Where I don't take us down a rabbit hole that's 3 hours long. It's okay. Yes, I agree with you. We are in a flux state where all media is in play, and I think we're seeing physical media sticking around more than networks and studios expected.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's enough people that are realizing, oh wait, when I buy a movie off Amazon Prime or Apple Music or wherever I get it, I don't actually own that movie.
Yeah, I own it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And if the studio decides to pull that from the service, then it's just gone, and the movie that I paid for, I don't have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And or in some cases, there'll be like a revision or something where they fix something in the movie, and the version you wanted to watch, that's not what you see the next time you stream the movie. But if you buy a DVD or a Blu-ray, the version you watch is always the version you watch, and I think that's becoming more popular for some people.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
And if you're watching older movies, like this has been the challenge with doing a podcast where we're watching older movies, is that it's an interesting thing, because as you said, I don't own all of these movies, or in many cases I own it and I still haven't finished building out my little like movie space in the house that I'm in now. So it's like I know it's up there somewhere, but they're hard. They are really hard to find in a lot of cases because there's a constant shuffle with the streaming services. So it's like, well, if I do a quick search, it was like, well, Apple had that last week, but now it's been like passed along to Netflix, and actually like it's now on this different service. So unless you have all of the services and it is a more common movie, then, maybe you'll be able to access it. But otherwise, good luck. Like there are a few movies out there that are not available on any of those services. Right. And if you don't have the DVD or the VHS, you're not going to watch it. Like it's just too weird or too much of a cult classic, and it just never got transferred over onto those services. So part of it, I agree with you, Jeff, is caught up in this idea of like, do you actually own it? Like, are you just throwing your money away and you're out of control? And then part of it is if you're geeky and weird about movies like I am, sometimes you might not be able to actually access the movies that you really want to see or want to have and collect and be able to watch again, which is, again, such a weird feeling for me, because so many of those movies I owned, and then I remember at a point in time where I was trying to be less, hoarding about everything. And I was like, all right, well, I got to cut down my collection, because now we have the ability where I can like easily buy these, on eBay or at Walmart or all these different places, or I can easily access them now more digitally in all these different places. And so I don't have to have my shelves filled with them. It's how clean and wonderful that is. And then it just became harder and harder for a lot of me to find a lot of my favorite movies. And it was this disappointing realization that, oh, shoot, now I might not be able to watch the things I want to watch because not everyone else likes the same stuff that I do, which can be disappointing.
Yeah.
Katie, a perfect example of what you're talking about for me is the movie Dogma.
Oh, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was available for those of you that don't know the Dogma story. Amazing movie. And it came out on DVD and was available for a window of time, and then was pulled because then there was this legal licensing fight that came up, and that was it. So if you didn't already have the DVD, you didn't get to watch Dogma anymore. And because of the legal fighting, you couldn't watch it on a streaming service. Mm-hmm. And this has been, 20 years?
It's been a long time, yeah.
But Kevin Smith did make an announcement that it's all been resolved, finally. And so we'll be able to start streaming Dogma, I don't know when, soon.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, there you go. That was
how frustrating, yeah, especially for not only for the fans and for people who who never got the chance to see it and wanted to, but for the creators, like people like Kevin Smith. Like, how annoying that you put in all of the work for this film. It has a following, people love it, and now no one can access it because they cleaned out their DVD collections and got rid of things that they didn't think they needed. So it's a wild, wild west kind of time out there, but it's definitely not at all where I expected we would be. And it's part of me is like surprisingly excited, and the other part of me is kind of like, oh shoot, like I've got to be more careful about what I'm willing to part with going forward and what I'm not, as far as things that I like.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the future of video, physical media. Apple's play into that. Do you guys think physical media will ever fully disappear? I mean, like in mainstream, I mean, you're always going to have the nostalgic people that are out there who have their large collections, but could it at some point disappear? Maybe in 10 years, 20 years?
Studios want it to go away. I firmly believe they want all digital because that gives them so much more control over the content. But consumers do not want it to go away. So I don't think it's going to go away. However, I don't necessarily think it will always be the studios that are providing the physical format. That may end up becoming a bootleg market if the studios could really manage to push us completely out of physical media.
Yeah, because you also have like VHS mold. Like they don't. I mean, DVDs and Blu-ray are slightly better, but they're also a fragile piece of physical equipment as well.
Delaminate.
So they can delaminate, they can crack, they can break, they can scratch, right? Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, there are lots and lots of posts online about people who are like, oh, I had an incredible VHS collection and, went up to the attic and they're unwatchable. They don't work anymore. So yeah, I mean, the studios could wait us out unless someone clever and creative is able to, as you said, like either replicate the technology or find a way to release them in different ways. But yeah, it would probably be in like a bootleg space.
Yeah. Witherbucket just said you could see way more digital only versions of game consoles now and PC. So that's kind of a good comparison to that. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. The other thing is there any niche survival for collectors, boutique labels, and nostalgic? Do we have a lot of those? There's going to be a ton of those people out there. I mean, you go to these flea markets every week and they're selling all these old VHS tapes and people at garage sales. I mean, you're still seeing them, and there's still a lot of nostalgia.
The prices are going up too. Like they're going up and up and up, and you have the rise of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube creators who are building out these. This is like goals for me, but building out these like incredible like retro vintage quote unquote basements with their whole collections and have. Like in many cases, hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of followers. So like they are building a big digital empire around this idea of a time and a space and a feeling and a community that's all in this nostalgic space. So it's been fun to watch. Like some of the spaces just really like take you back. It's cool to see. They got the shag carpet, the like particular style of sofa that you could probably imagine in your head, the floor model TVs, the VCR,
and the macrame blanket over the couch. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like vinyl too. Go ahead.
You just read my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing with the vinyl revival. And of course, that's going to be a thing for video as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, again, keep pointing to my closet over here. I have a huge bin of all my LPs still sitting in there.
Take them out of the closet, Dave.
I can't. Yeah, you got to get the turntable out and and get that. In fact, I think I bought a Victrola. Those, remember that one? Those now in the case, the new ones. Because I saw it at CES. I have it there. I was playing it because, again, went to the estate sale and I grabbed a bunch of 78 records and wanted to play them. So at least I played them for a while, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to collect these. I don't want that. I got no space for this stuff to stay safe. So I donated them. So, but yeah, I mean, all these mediums. I think like the 8-track players too. There's still people out there still playing 8-track tapes, and so we've got it's so
to
cool.
be fair, Dave, 8-track was actually a really high quality audio format. The problem was
Betamax,
that halfway through one song, it had to flip over.
It would go click, click, click.
Yeah, but I mean, the audio quality was really good.
It was good. So much there were so many ways when you listen to things, and how much it evolved over all these years. Do you hope doesn't get, do we hope that it doesn't get lost as all these videos got fully digital? Because you could lose a lot of these movies if they go buried somewhere. I mean, it's hard to find. Sometimes it's hard to find those things. But I mean, the advent of YouTube, there's so many people, and a lot of movies are coming out of copyright too, where they can just share it, and there's the movie you can watch on YouTube too. So
I don't think at least anytime soon we're at that risk. Because we're also in this like interesting space where, because the generation, like, I mean, my generation and maybe even like one younger and one older have some level of disposable income, want to be in these spaces and want to. So we're at like an interesting time for, at least for a large group of movies, and they're all celebrating anniversaries. And we haven't been all that great at, like, there's been so many remakes, sequels, all of that. So it's pulling back a lot of those movies and a lot of the movies that were similar or surrounding or of the same time. So we're in a phase where there's less and less kind of new ideas for movies and culture and pop. So we're seeing, I think, at least for the foreseeable future, maybe some of those. It'll be interesting to see what happens to like a traditional cult classic. We've been talking a lot about that on the show, where it's like, you know, what made a cult classic movie was this idea of a movie that had certain elements, did fairly poorly in the theater, and then once it was one of the options in rental or hit the TV market, and it was just like, played with commercials on a cable channel, then it's the momentum and people seeing it over and over again and discovering it that way is what picked it up and carried it. I do wonder how many of those sort of smaller films, smaller productions that are, it's such a crowded market and space right now that I don't know how well some of those are going to be able to compete, or what lifespan they would have in a streaming space at the moment. It's a little bit. But, I don't know, maybe that changes over to like the niche YouTube shows and things that are hitting now, where they do have an audience, but it's a smaller audience. It grows grassroots. Maybe it'll be a different space. But I don't know exactly. I haven't figured out exactly personally what that might mean for like some of those movies. Like how the formula for getting some of those movies out there is definitely going to be different for sure.
Yeah. Just going back to the chat here at youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS, Witherbucket. In fact, I keep forgetting I can add it to the broadcaster. There we go. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? So he says, I'm 38 and slightly too young to ever have ever seen the tech that I didn't last. Laserdisc, beta, 8-track. So he didn't even know anything about it.
Hey, now you should, because I'm 42, so you're not that far off from me.
Right. Yeah. And don't forget standard cassette tape, which was horrible audio format, but it was so convenient that it became very popular.
Yep. And the control, like there was something magical about the idea of, I can make you a mixtape. I can I can spend the time, and I can like pause and record and stop and build, like curate this list, which is still, I mean, even that is still something that we can replicate in the digital space. But again, there's something, I don't know, fun or like harder work, I guess, with the tactile, like, this is a cassette tape I made for you. This is a mixtape I made for you. Feels, I don't know, feels more intentional or more valuable, I think, to me on some level than like, I made you this Spotify playlist.
Yeah. Yep. I get it. Yep.
Oh my God. I mean, I did the cassette tape. So I'm going to just comment here with Witherbucket. He does have plenty of VHS and cassettes.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
We feel better there. Yeah. I remember putting together a playlist and for my dad. He wanted 50s music. I got all excited about it. We would get it off of the cassettes and on the and the albums and records and make you made your favorite playlist on a cassette. So I still have the notebook that I had with all the list of that, and then I had a teacher there's a music teacher that I was real close to in high school, and had all he let me copy all of his cassettes that he had all this music. Think about how you had to do that too. So it's I agree. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be going away anytime soon. I think people are going to still be nostalgic, and I mean, like I said, I've held on to. I did get rid of most of my cassettes. I still have a few up there, but I have all the mediums. I've got everything that's been except 8-track and reel to reel. I wanted to hold my reel to reel player so badly, but it just I kept moving it with me.
Can't do
everything.
everything.
So big, and I had the tapes and. Yeah, I got over it. So,
Dave, I just had a thought about the whole mixtape thing.
Yeah.
Doing the intentional act of creating a mixtape, there is something very special about that. You're absolutely right, Katie.
Yes.
But the way we can do it now, where we're actually making like a playlist, that also opens up new opportunities. As an example, I've made tons of mixtapes for friends and that special someone, and but now, like every now and then I'll get a message from a friend saying, "Hey, doing this party, it's going to be this kind of a theme. Make the music for the party."
Oh,
and then I'm like, "Oh, cool!" And so I'll put together, like 3 hours of music into one playlist, and all themed, and get figure out the order and everything, and it's super cool and fun to do, and then share that. They play it at the party, and we're all hearing it, and if it all goes well, people are like, "Whoa, I hadn't noticed the music, but this is really cool."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a few more things I want to hit on before we wrap up here about the Apple Vision Pro. And I have one. I know you guys do not, but I'm sure you have experienced it and seen how it was.
Mm-hmm.
Really, is there a future with the immersive movie watching? Because we just talked about it last week on Vision Profiles about the fact that NBA basketball did an immersive video capabilities, streaming it live. You could watch it in immersive video. So I think that's the next kind of trend. But do you think movies are going to? I want to see more immersive videos. I mean, Apple earlier last year, I should say, new year, F1. F1 was a great, amazing movie, and I actually went to the theater and saw it in IMAX, and it was pretty phenomenal. With the sound was crazy good, and it had. But I was disappointed that they didn't really. They did some immersive stuff with it, but they didn't do a full out recording of a 2-hour movie in immersive. But I think it's going to be there. I mean, all the guys with me on Vision Profiles every week are itching to get some more immersive content. I want to go back. I go back and watch all the stuff that they've done, and it's always just shorts for the most part. Do you think it's something that's going to be? Is there going to be a future for it for video immersive?
It's an interesting question. I haven't played enough with it to have a strong enough opinion, but I mean, I have to think that like what we've seen in the past with movie theaters moving into like the IMAX, moving into 3D movies, and then certainly like even what we're seeing now. I haven't been myself yet, but I was talking earlier this week with Dave Hamilton about Las Vegas and the Sphere, right? Like humans love an experience, and especially if Apple is able to continue to develop in that space and bring like it so it feels like a movie experience. We are still I think, missing that and creating that. And certainly if they can find a way so it feels like you're together in that, like if that was combined with, I don't know, like a Zoom style like connection point where it felt like you were with other people, even if you weren't, and you could share that experience with them. Like there is something still magical about going to, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's like a movie, a concert, or whatever, and you're in a big space or feels like a big space with everyone else, and you're surprised and laughing and delighted and caught up in the moment, and you're, in a concert, you're waving your phone or your lighter, depending on how old you are. But I think those kinds of moments, like that makes the movie better. That makes the content better. That makes the concert better are the people that you're with. And even if you don't know them, just the act of being together. So as a total noob and someone that has not used it a ton, I think like if they can mix the great technology with incredible content, and then the idea of building and fostering a shared experience, a community experience, they'll nail it, because people just always want to be able to not necessarily be alone, but be like, I don't know, be surrounded by some kind of community, even if they're not like actively talking or sharing that moment with someone.
Yeah. Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, first, I could just say what Katie said and be done.
Okay.
Because nailed it. Everything you said, absolutely right. So I'll condense down my version of that. There's definitely a future for this, because the idea of a completely immersive environment when you're watching a movie just totally smacks of holodeck, and everyone's like, "Oh man, Star Trek holodeck is so cool."
Bring it out, yeah.
But if it's an isolating experience, it will not catch on. You need to have the option, like Katie was saying, to make it a group thing. So somehow, whether if you're with the people in person and you're wearing your face things, or you're remote, however, it needs to feel like you're together, and not just like there's a little box in a corner with someone's face. It needs to feel like if I turn like this, here's Dave on this side, here's Katie on this side. You two are in completely different parts of the country for me, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
So nail that, and then I think you will have a much wider adoption. Also, it can't be just Vision Pro. All of the VR headset people have to get in on this.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to do a few rapid fire questions here real quick. What's one movie that you must own physically?
Blues Brothers.
Oh, you're killing me.
I love the Blues Brothers. That's my favorite.
Mine right now is Clue. I saw you guys talk about 100 of them, but
I have Clue physical also.
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller.
Ferris
Bueller's Day Off. I have it.
Princess Bride.
Bride.
Better Off Dead is another one that I absolutely love.
Better Off Dead. The original Star Wars.
Original
Blade Runner.
Yeah. There's so many.
There's so many.
Better Off Dead. Oh my God. I want my $2.
I love that movie. And that's one that like was hard to find. Super hard to find.
I know.
The original Ghostbusters.
The original. Yes.
The two you picked, Blues Brothers and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, both Chicago.
Yeah.
Both Chicago.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to ask is, if you had to choose between only one streaming service, which one would you choose?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. And I had no access to physical items. I had to it was streaming or nothing.
That's a tough question.
Is it?
I would have to make a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
Do I want streaming that's primarily original content?
That is, yeah.
Or do I want streaming where I also have access to studio library content?
Yeah, that's the question.
And so if it's streaming where it's primarily original content, I would go with Apple TV, because that is consistently good quality.
Yeah,
however,
great originals.
Yeah. However, for everything else, I think would actually go Amazon Prime.
Yep, that was wow, nailed it. Ditto to Jeff.
Okay, good deal.
I was channeling my inner Katie.
Yeah.
High five, Jeff. High five.
High five to all of us here. And I think mine would be, I don't know. It'd be tough. I might have to hold on to Paramount Plus just because I love Star Trek now. I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
so, okay. If I could do it where I have one, a friend has another, a friend has another, then this becomes a lot easier.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And then of course, we know Star Trek Starfleet Academy is premiering tomorrow, I believe. As we're recording this.
January 15th. Yes.
Yes, tomorrow as we record here. So, all right. What a great show. We had a lot of fun here. We hit a lot of great things, and I thought this was going to be fun, and it turned out to be. It was just what a great conversation for all you guys going through all this. We hope you enjoyed it. So, before we go, Katie, I'm so glad you were here on the show this week, and tell everybody about a little bit about eCam, and then where can people find you, and then make sure you plug your podcast too.
Absolutely. So if you haven't heard of eCam, since we didn't talk about it in this particular episode, eCam is a live streaming and video production software built for Mac, and it allows you to create all kinds of content, including podcasts and live streams and video recordings in any format, any shape, size, everything in between. So it's a really a great tool. And one, if you're a Mac user, I would encourage you to take a look at and check out if you want to create some content yourself. And you can find me at all of the different eCam spaces and places. We have community, and then obviously we're on YouTube and on all the different social platforms. If you want to geek out with me over old movies, you can catch myself and my co-host Nat. We record most Thursday nights, not everyone, but most of them at 9 p.m. Eastern over on YouTube. And you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or you can listen and watch on YouTube Live with us.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Katie. I really appreciate you being here.
Of course,
and
a pleasure.
Jeff Gamet, yes. And then Jeff Gamet, always pleasure having you on the show. And we're on day 5 of seeing each other. Now we're going on.
Yes, it is.
Tomorrow. So,
yeah.
Where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not sitting around thinking about how cool it is that I've been able to spend so much time with you over the past few days, and just how awesome it is that Katie's perspective on all this matches mine, so it's validation for me. I'm busy on social media posting things like I did today, a coat hook that I called an octopus with a horn thing. If you see it, then it makes sense. Anyhow, on social media, I'm Jay Gamet, pretty much everywhere. I'm most active right now on Mastodon, PixelFed, and Blue Sky. Then for shows, Tuesdays for Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live, here with you on Thursdays for In Touch with iOS. Then The Big Show on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. And Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine. And Patrice Brendamore and I do Retro Rewatch.
Well, great. Thank you for being here. And that is going to be a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky and Mastodon. It's at In Touch with iOS. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show on going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe when we're live streaming, which is usually on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios. We shout out to Witherbucket and Cletus for being here and hanging out with us on this special episode, and appreciate it. And we leave up the live streams, and you also can go back there and listen to past shows. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, intouchwithios.com, where all the links to listen to us are there. And I'm Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on many podcasts, including the Vision Profiles podcast, which is on Monday nights, and Mac Voices Live on Tuesday nights. And we record on Thursday nights with In Touch with iOS, and on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays in the morning, usually. And you can find me on Mastodon and Blue Sky at DaveG65. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. I hope you really enjoyed this special episode. We had a lot of fun doing it, and we'll talk again soon.